This video is on factoring. So we're going to factor some numbers and variables multiplied together. So when we factor, that means we're breaking a term, because it could be a number or it could be numbers and variables multiplied together. So it would be breaking its term down into all of the prime numbers that multiply together to equal that original number. So remember, a prime number is a number that can only be divided by 1 in itself. So such as 2, 3, 5, 7. So 9 can be divided by 3. So that's not prime. So you always have to break it down completely to its prime factors. So we're just going to start with numbers because it's easier. And when I break a number down, I like to use a factor tree. So that's just having branches going down where I say, what times what gives me 48? Well, the easiest thing to do is say, I'm going to divide it by 2 because I know it's an even number. So I know that 2 times 24 gives me 48. 2 is a prime number because I can only divide it by 1 in itself. And so I'm going to circle any prime numbers that I break this down into. 24 is not prime because it can be divided by some other numbers than 1 in itself. So I'm going to keep breaking that down until I have just prime numbers. 24 can be broken down to 2 times 12. 2 is prime, so I'm going to circle it. 12 breaks down to 2 times 6, and 6 breaks down to 2 times 3. So I'm left with just the prime numbers. And if I re-multiply these, I get back to 48. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 3 gives me 48. If I broke it down in a different order, so if I said instead of 2 times 24, I picked two different numbers that multiply together to get 48, you will still eventually break it down to these prime factors. So no matter what values you choose, you will always get to the same prime factors. So I'm just going to rewrite this. 48 is equal to. So I'm going to show these prime factors multiplied together, and I'm going to go from the smallest to the largest. So I have 1, 2, 3, 4 2's multiplied together. 2 times 2 times 2 times 2 multiplied times 3. So these are the prime factors, or I just factored 48. Okay, so I'm going to try another one. So here I could say, well, 66 is even, so I can divide it by 2. And I could do it the same way that I did over here, but I'm going to do it slightly different. I'm going to say, well, 66, I know that 6 times 11 gives me 66. In this case, 11's prime. I can only divide 11 by 1 in itself. 2 times 3 gives me 6. So now I have all the prime factors, and I have to go from smallest to largest when I write this out. I have 2 times 3 times 11. The reason that I like to circle the primes is so that when I have a whole bunch of numbers written here, I can easily identify which numbers I need to write out for it multiplied together for that factoring. Okay, so I have a couple more here. 75, again, I'm going to do the factor tree, and I'm going to say that 25 times 3 gives me 75. In this case, 3 is prime, so I'm going to circle it, but I still need to break down 25. 25 is 5 times 5. 5 is prime, and so is 5. Okay, so 75 breaks down to, I'm going to go in order from smallest to largest, 3 times 5 times 5. All right, so my next one is slightly different because it's negative. Negative 120. So I want to factor out that negative first. So I'm going to say negative 1 times 120 gives me negative 120. So anytime you have a negative, factor that negative out as negative 1 times your number. All right, 120. This breaks down to 2 times 60. 2 is prime, so I have to circle it. 60 breaks down to 2 times 30. I'm going to circle my 2. 30 breaks down to 2 times 15. And 15 breaks down to 3 times 5. Okay, so I'm going to rewrite this. I'm going to put that negative 1 in front. So I have negative 1 times 1, 2, 3 2's multiplied together times 3 times 5. And again, if you want to double check your work, you can always re-multiply them together and make sure it equals negative 120. All right, so now we're going to include variables. So we have to break this term down. I'm going to start by factoring the number just like I did before. So I'm going to say, to get 20, this is 2 times 10. 10 breaks down to 2 times 5. So those are my prime factors. So I'm going to write this out. I'm going to start with the numbers. 2 times 2 times 5. Right, but it's multiplied by x squared. So I have to break x squared down to its smallest values multiplied together, which x squared is just x times x. So this is multiplied by x times x. Because remember that exponent tells us x is multiplied by itself twice. So this is completely factored. Right, let's try one more where we just have a couple more variables. Again, I'm going to start with my number in front. Because it's negative, I want to factor out negative 1. Negative 1 times 8 gives me negative 8. 8 breaks down to 2 times 4. And 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. Okay, so this gives me negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2. Now I'm going to multiply on my variables. X to the third, well, that's x times itself 3 times. So this is times x times x times x. Y to the fourth, y is multiplied by itself 4 times. So times y times y times y times y. And this is completely factored. All right, so I'm going to have you go ahead and try 4 problems on your own. Go ahead and try them out, and then I will go through the answers with you when you're ready. All right, 50 breaks down to 2 times 25. 25 is 5 times 5. So 50 factored is 2 times 5 times 5. Negative 56 breaks down to negative 1 times 56. 56 breaks down to 2 times 28. 28 breaks down to 2 times 14. 14 breaks down to 2 times 7. Okay, so then I'm just going to rewrite this as negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 2 times 7. All right, third one, we have some variables involved. So start with breaking down 16 to 2 times 8. 8 is 2 times 2, or sorry, 2 times 4. 4 breaks down to 2 times 2. So I'm going to rewrite this as 2 times 2 times 2 times 2. X cubed is x multiplied by itself 3 times, multiplied by that single y value. Because remember, y is the same thing as y to the power of 1. And the last one, we have negative 1 times 100. 100 is 2 times 50. 50 is 2 times 25. And 25 is 5 times 5. All right, so I'm going to rewrite this as negative 1 times 2 times 2 times 5 multiplied by x, which is multiplied by y to the fourth, is y times itself 4 times. 1, 2, 3, 4. And that is negative 100 xy to the fourth factored.